Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namo Namaha. Um, we've had our tea. I think we are now fully awake again. Uh, we have done with the chapter 1. Now we are into chapter number 2. Let's just start with the invocation. Um, we can all sing it together if you like. Sadashiva Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. Om. Sir, first of all, I'd like to thank you for doing this retreat and great opportunity for us and our group to actually present for this Kathopanishad Valli. One thing which I was reading somewhere was that to understand something really, there are kind of four stages. One is that you listen to the teaching, then you understand that, and you once you do a little bit mananam to remove the doubts about it, and then the final best way to actually learn is to teach. And so like the every next stage kind of actually determines that your previous stage is really properly done. For example, if you teach, you need to make sure that your doubts are removed, or else if you yourself have doubts, then it will be difficult to teach. So teaching is very important for that purpose. And how would you remove your doubts unless you have understood? Because if you have a doubt, you would think like, maybe I've not understood it correctly. First let me go and understand it properly, and then still if I have a doubt, then I will get it clarified from senior acharyas or whoever, but at least let me understand that. So that again goes one step back. And then for understanding, if you have not even listened to it or heard it, you don't even know what it is, then how do you understand? So every next stage is kind of a examination or kind of a way of ensuring that the previous stage is done. So thank you for this. So teaching is not really like I know more than anybody or anything like that, or my style this style. Many times those thoughts sometimes comes to people's mind that that whatever, right? But the whole thing is like, this is just to make sure that we have understood it correctly. So as sir says, like, we should, I think that's how sir has been passing on the baton, that now everyone else he's making people to. So I think it's a good way. If we understand it properly, we can actually share it with others, and that's how our understanding becomes stronger. So too much of didacticness. So now we are in the second chapter. In the first chapter, just it's not very old, but just to recap, we looked at all the preparatory sadhanas, like how we can ensure. We looked at the Ratha Kalpana, that our senses should be in control, or we should have that GPS where we are actually going, and all those things. So now that, so for example, for engineering, IIT JEE is also a very important step, that you have to clear those prelim examinations. So you have to be prepared to get into IITs, or for medical maybe there is something else. So but now you have to get into the IIT and actually do the engineering, right? So this is that actual Atmaswarupam, etc., that we'll be discussing. So we have prepared our minds, now we are all ready, we have Chitta Ekagrata also. Now, but what is that actual Jnana Yoga we are getting into? Outward we see there is only Anatma. So this is how we will start in our first mantra also. And but what Vivek does is that Vivek is nothing but that discrimination, that whatever I see is very temporary. In our experiences, whatever we have seen so far, we have always realized that everything is there, it goes away with time or with space or whatever, right? So it doesn't always stay. So that Vivek settles slowly and gradually dawns upon us. And then, like how we have gradually come over the likeness of, let's say, balloons, etc., that vairagya automatically sets in. So that Vivek born vairagya, the vairagya is not like suppression of anything. It is just, now that I know this is not good, then why should I go towards that? I have another example later, we'll see that. But this is the synopsis of the second chapter. So just the first verse, a few questions I would like to start with, and then Dr. Asha Nayak and Vinayakan will take us through the verse, and then we'll try to see what are the answers for these. Like, why do we actually run behind the external objects? We have gone through so many classes, teaching and all, but we still run around this car, that house, etc., etc. Why don't we introspect in our true nature? What is it that is really stopping us, or what is that uh, obstacle in that. And this is how do we become a discriminative person. For knowing that, we need to know what a discriminative person does. So that also we should see. Maybe those answers will get will answer those questions here. So I would like to invite Dr. Vinayakan to present this piece.
I'll chant the verse. The verse goes like this. पराञ्चिखानि वितृणत् स्वयम्भूः तस्मात् परां पश्यति नान्तरात्मन् कश्चिद्धीराः प्रत्यगात्मानमैक्ष्यत् आवृत्तचक्षुरमृतत्वमिच्छन्. Om Gurubhyo Nama, Jai Gurudev. He has spoken about this mantra said. So the meaning is Swayamba Vratyunata Khani, Lord destroyed sense organ. How? Because Paranj, they are extrovert. Tasmat Pashyati Paranj. Therefore, everyone practices outside. Na Antaratman. Because of that, no time to look at Antaratma inside. Ichan Amritatvam, desiring immortality. And how do we that Kaschita Dhira? Who does is rare discriminative Dhira. How? Because Avrita Chakshu. He looks one with withdrawn eyes. How does that happen? What happens? Ekshat Prayatagna. Antarakshma, he sees Antarakshma within. So, next slide. The meaning is the Lord says that the Lord destroyed the sense organs by making them extrovert in nature. Organs, they defective sense organs, and our mind always busy with pursuit and external duty and pleasures. No one has the time to introspect and think about Atma. Even the one with a faint interest postpones spiritual pursuit. Shankaracharya said in Bhajagovindam, Balastava Kridastava and Tarunastava. It goes, the meaning goes is childhood slips away playing, youth spends with attachment with women, old age passes away worrying, and alas, there is no Parabrahman tribe. Nobody sees that. So even when one realizes the importance Atma and end of life, but it is so late that he is incapable of attending it. Said in Taittiriya Upanishad, Kim ham sadhu sakaram nakaram, kim ham papam karam nati. I want to do that, but I could not do. I did not want to do this, but exactly I did that. So this all the time the external world allowing me to come not to come to Atma. And I recognize this problem so late that I don't get time or I am not capable. And therefore, Tasmat, because of worldly preoccupation, engagement, endless management, expanding engagements, Parang Pashyati, the person permanently busy seeing the Prapancha. He thinks he will do after retirement, but he gets more busy. Thereafter, therefore, na antaratmam. He never turns inside attention to Atma. As well said again in Bhajakovinam, Kastam ko ham kutam maya kame janani kame tat. Who am I? Why am I here? From where did I come? Where am I going? All these things he has no time to ask or he doesn't think. Therefore, Antaratman, as Paramarthananda says, Antaratma Apmaman Udyu, we make Atman of Antaratma, and Antaratma Atma we don't see. Every rule has exception. So some people, that is Kaschita Dhira, rare considered people, study and give time to Atma. And this is Nitya Anatta Vastu Viveki. This because he has seen the dosha of external dukkha mishrita. Everything is mixed with pain, atruptikaran. Whatever we get, we are not satisfied. Bandhakatvam. We depend on the world and because of that we are happy. These three intrinsic defects of anatma. One who discerned this defect is also called dhira. Dhira means not talking about physical muscle, but talking about intellectual muscle, where this is why he is called Viveka. So same rare Viveka Pratyagatma, he woke up Atishtat Jagratam. those people ensure they discover self, which of witness of anatma pratyam, which is ever experience and never the subject of experiences. Pratyagatma Kashchita Dhira Evat means he got Atmaganam. How did he accomplish that? Amritat Icham. He desires immortality. Without desiring, he cannot accept. So how do we do? So he knew that immortality is present, Atma alone. Atma and conscious is the only one beyond the parameter of time and space. Because in sleep, when we time and space disappears, consciousness still continues. In Sushupti, even when time and space disappear, even then consciousness is Sakshi. In sleep state, which is witness of the absence of time and space. Therefore, the only thing beyond time and space is consciousness. Therefore, Amritatva Vicham, we are desiring immortality. The intelligent person comes to timeless Atma. And how does he do that? Goes by Avritta Chakshu, turning the mind and sense organ away from the world, seeing away the attention from the world objects and turning towards the subject. Now, how do you do that? By using a mirror. If I want to look at my face, I look into the mirror. When I look at the mirror, everything I am looking outside, but reality speaking, I am looking at myself only. Similarly, Shastra Vichara and Upadesh, Guru Upadesh, which is very important, mirror and some as rare people start looking inside. Vedanta is a unique mirror which shows you yourself, the observer, Avrata Chakshu, directly, meaning turning the eye inwards. Turning the eye is not physical turning. I am the more extrovert person. I am not enamored by, I am not lost in, I am not tempted by the finite external objects. Hari Om.
So as we had started with those questions, I think now with an explanation we get the answer to that is why do we run behind external objects? Because we have to operate through our senses. What else do we have with us? And they're all looking outwards. So only option we've got is to go towards external objects. What else can we do? So it's kind of the Swayambhu has really kind of doomed us with that. So that's one way of looking at it. And why don't we introspect our true nature? Again, the same thing. One is the senses are outwards, so we have to look for so many material objects, and we have no time for all this. Like balastavat, krida, sakta. So there is no time. Here we are here. We are blessed ones. There are many of people are not even able to find time. We are always busy in our lives and all. So that is another reason. And then what does a discriminative person do? He actually analyzes his experiences in life, as we had talked about earlier also. And then he sees what am I really getting by going through all those external objects. We have studied this intellectually many times, but sometimes if we really reflect, sit quietly, we are still running behind external, everybody, including myself. Then we realize what is temporary, what is permanent, and then that discriminative one actually goes for the permanent. It doesn't appear very flashy or lucrative, but that is what the discrimination is about. That then they go for the real thing, and so that's the difference between a ajnani and jnani. In the mantra 2, which we will not cover, but the gist of that is that the indiscriminative one, he actually goes behind the external objects. So then with that parameter or that barometer, we have to judge ourselves whether in which bucket we fall and where we are shifting our priorities towards. And because of that, he enters into the net of death. Death is nothing but whatever is in the realm of space and time, because anything which is in space and time is going to get destroyed sooner or later, in here or there. But if we are beyond that, that is only when we are going to get away from that, and then we'll get away from the death part also. So but the indiscriminate ones don't do that, and they are always in the punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. But the discriminative ones, they don't seek anything from that impermanent world. So the example that Swamiji many times gives is about a cardboard chair. It is good, we know, but the discriminative one knows that I don't want to rely on that. I can use it. It is good decoration. Every I mean, what there are other uses for that, but I cannot just sit there and relax, and because it will break. And that is the experience that discriminative one has understood. These are the examples we have seen multiple times, not anything new here. But what have we really observed in the change in our behavior? We have seen so many cardboard chairs in our lives, but have we really changed? That is great. If not, all we are doing is from one cardboard chair, we are moving on to another cardboard chair, then another cardboard chair. It is looking different in shapes and forms and names and everything, but that's not going to change. Cardboard is a cardboard. So we need to find that steel, that really that anchoring thing, right? Are we still, so in that Gita's context, are we still attached to that anatma, that oh my Bhishma, oh my Drona, and all that? Like that is in the context of people, but there are things also. So where is what we are looking at then? So if I have to look inwards, first of all, how do I look inward? Again, we started that, and Ashaji answered that question already, but I'll just still touch upon that. Is we have sense objects looking outside, my eyes are actually looking out. How do I look inside? It just doesn't make too much sense, right? But we, none of us have actually seen our face actually. We have only seen it in the mirror. So mirror is by something by which we look outside, but what we are actually looking at is looking towards us only. So basically, in this sense also, we kind of need a mirror. So the mirror is this Shastra, Guru Upadesh and all. So this is the mirror that we need to use, and using these sense organs and mind only. There is no other instrument we've got. We've got these only. But thankfully, we have a mirror. We use that mirror. We look inwards, and then the journey begins. And so it's not that we just stop everything that is going on outside, that we will drop everything transactional in the world, but we prioritize what is it that we rely on, what is it our highest priority. That is the only shift in the attitude that we need to get into. So, and that's what is the whole difference between a Ajnani and Jnani. As sir had mentioned earlier in one of the sessions, that it is not that the tragedies will not strike the Jnani, but it is just that they know what is permanent, what is impermanent, how to deal with it. That shift in attitude. So we have done till mantra 2. Now mantra 3 onwards, basically now we are entering into that real atmaswarupam. Again, earlier it was how to use our senses, etc., but now we are going to use different techniques like the drishya, avasthatraya, sakshi. And then from mantra 5 onwards will be very highly technical discussion in a tattva bodha style about how original conscious and reflected conscious. We'll get into that, but for now let me invite Chetna ma'am for uh, 2.1.3.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So Lord Yama states, Yena Rupam Rasam Gandham Sparshan Gan, Sparshan Shabdam Sparshan Chamaitunan Etannaiva Vijanati Kimatra Parishishyate Etatvai Tat. This important mantra answers Nachiketa's question of what is that which is beyond dharma and adharma, what is that which is beyond time, and that which is beyond cause and effect. So let's see what Lord Yama indicates here. Yena etena eva. By this Atma alone. Vijanati. One knows. One knows what? Rupam, Rasam, Gandham, Shabda, Sparsha, and Maithunan. Maithunan here means the human interactions between pairs of people, like husband and wife, parent and child, Guru Shishya. Therefore, Kim Atra Parishishyate? What else remains here to be known by the Atma, asks Lord Yama. And he continues and ends by saying, Etat Dvai Tat. This is indeed that. So, what is that? That is our true nature, the Atma Swarupam, that by which everything is becomes known. Now, to understand the nature of my higher self, Swamiji emphasizes that we must know two fundamental principles of Vedanta, where the first principle is Drik Drishya Viveka, which states, whatever I experience is different from I, the experiencer. And the second principle states, all the attributes, whether height, weight, color, etc., belong to the experienced objects and not to me, the experiencer. Therefore, I, the experiencer, am free from all attributes. I am nirguna. This is my Atma Swarupa. If this is understood clearly, It is instantly liberating. Why? Because I have no birth, therefore no death, as I have no limitations in time. As I have no attributes to limit me, I am infinite, limitless, or ananta. As I have no limitations in time, in space, I am all pervading. I am not limited by the boundaries of the body. Lord Yama repeats again and again, Etat Dvai Tat. This is indeed that. Therefore, a person with this understanding discovers the infinite consciousness in every experience. Pratibodha Viditam Matam. So, how do we own up to this consciousness? As mentioned, through the method of Drishya Viveka, where I keep negating anything that is experienced as anatma, as not me. Thus, the world, the body, and the mind are dismissed. Then, what is left? Kim atra parishishyate, asks Lord Yama. What is left is the experiencer, the subject, which cannot be experienced because the moment it is experienced, it becomes an object. But a question arises, if the subject is never experienced, then how do I know if the experiencer is there? For this, I do not require any special experience because the experience of every object reveals the presence of the subject. For example, do not need to make a special effort to see my eyes to prove its existence because every object that I see reveals the presence of my eyes. Therefore, because of consciousness alone, one experiences everything. Ena etena eva vijanati. So, this consciousness principle is indeed that, is Lord Yama's response to Nachiketa's question, Etadvai Tat. So, in conclusion, matter is just name and form. There is no such thing called matter. Consciousness alone is there. Initially, say, consciousness is in me. Finally, say, consciousness is me. Hari Om.
Thank you so much. That was a very detailed, very nice explanation. I think she has already talked about whatever was in this verse. I'll just maybe add one thing from my side is so there is this technique Drigdishya Vivek. Problem that happens is, at least what I have seen, is that it is easy to negate things which are too much far away from us. For example, this fan, this house, my car, this mic. I can see that, yeah, I observe them, I experience them, so they are not me. But then as the things becomes more intimate to me, for example my glasses, sometimes I feel that is part of me itself. So then that becomes difficult because it is very intimate to me all the time, it is with me. Then even more intimate is the body. So then it becomes very difficult. I theoretically think that yes, it is body, I'm experiencing it, then becoming that negate, even though the principle is the same, that we have to negate whatever we experience. And this is also like an object of experience, but because it is very intimate, we have been using it over like for so many years, it still it's little hard. And the hardest, however, is the, so we are coming like from external to closer to our inwards. It's not again in space, but it's theoretically, if you think like that. So whatever my senses are looking, it's easy to kind of drop that. Then my body, the most difficult is the mind. It is so intimate. Like I, many times we would think that these thoughts are what I am, but actually there are certain times when we are having thoughtlessness also, but that also we experience. So we are not even that mind, but it's very hard. So we have to drop that also. So this thoughts and thoughtlessness, etc., is also not me. But then he says, then what else remains? Then that consciousness, that principle which is actually experiencing all this, is what is there. Again, maybe later on they say there is no experience sir and experience the difference also, but for our this purpose of study, we'll just say that experiencer is who I am. So we have seen Drigdishya Viveka. Now may I invite Diksha to talk about another technique which is mentioned in the Avasthatraya Sakshi.
हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ स्वप्नान्तं जागरितान्तं चोभौ येनानुपश्यति महान्तं विभुमात्मानं मत्वा धीरो न शोचति. This is the verse that we will be looking at now. In the previous sutra, we used the method of Drik Drishya Viveka, that is, subject and object discrimination. Now, let us understand Atman as the Avastatraya Sakshihi. When we break down the word Avastha, we get two words, that is, Ava, Stha and Yut Pratyaya. Here, Ava means Antarbhage, inside, and Stha means Sthitaha, Vasaha. So, Avastha means something that resides in us. So, by this, we can interpret that the three stages, the Avastha Traya that we're talking about, is residing inside me, right? So, what are the three stages? This Avastha, yes, Tha and Avastha Traya. So, what are the three stages that we are looking at here? Is the Jagrita, is the Swapnavastha and the Sushupti. We also know something else that resides in us, right? The Atman. So, the Avastha Traya and the Atman both are residing inside us. So, can we contemplate that the Atman is residing in the Avastha Traya? The three stages when we are looking at is the Jagrita. First stage is the Jagrita Avastha. Jagruhu, that is Jagarti, to be awake. So you're experiencing objects that are made out of the five elements through the mind, and it is an external experience. In Swapna it is Swapiti. Swapiti means to sleep. But here it is your dream state. So here also you are experiencing the world through the mind. But the objects are made of your own thoughts. Then we go to Sushupti, that is consciousness without the objects. Desha Kala Titaha. Okay. So when you are in the so when you are in the Jagrita Avastha, there is no, it is not bound by Desha, Kala or Vishaya. So Swapnantam, Jagaritantam, Cha Ubhav. That's what the sutra says. What does Swapnantam mean? Swapnasya Antaha. What does Jagritantaha mean? Jagritasya Antaha. Antaha means plus tan. It is formed by that. Here the word dhatu means swabhavaha, its own nature. So the nature of swapna and in the nature of the Jagrita Avastha, cha ubhav. Ubhav means in both. What can we contemplate to this word? I mean, how can we correlate? What can we correlate this word to? The Sushupti Avastha. So in Swapnavastha and Jagrita Avastha and in the Sushupti Avastha, there is Yena Anupashyati. Yena is by whom? Anupashyati. Here the word Anupashyati is formed by Anu and Pashyati. Anu usually, how we use the term to be or the meaning to be is Paschat, that is following. But in Amarakosha, there are many different meanings for Anu, like Sadrishyam, Lakshanam, Bhagaha, Samipam. Samipam is very closely. Doctor, I don't know if this is right or not, but I have taken Samipa Arthaha here for Anu. That means very keenly observing. So, by whom in the Swapna, in the waking up state, and in the Sushupti Avastha, by whom something is very keenly observed. That Sakshi is to be understood. They are giving some Visheshanas for that Sakshi. So what are the Visheshanas? The next second line speaks about that. What is the second line says? It says Mahantam Vibhum Atmanam. This Atma that is observing everything in all the three stages is Mahantam and Vibhum. This having understood, we will go with the meaning of Vibhum and Mahantam. So Vibhum is something that is Sarvagataha. The word Vibhum means Sarvagataha, that is omnipresent. And Mahantam, Maha is something that is huge. So imagine something being very huge and present everywhere. So that is nothing but it is definitely we conclude it to be all pervading. So Vibhum, Mahantam, Atmanam. Once the Dhiraha has understood Matva, Matva means it comes from the word Matihi. Matihi usually has the word meaning to be Buddhihi. right? It is your intellect. But it also has a meaning called smritihi, recollected. Matva means having understood or having recollected. I have taken the meaning here to be recollection, because this knowledge of Paramatma and Jivatma is inherited, is an inherent knowledge to us. So, having recollected that knowledge, that this Vibhum and Mahantam Atma is the Sakshi in all the three stages. Having recollected, having Matva is having recollected, Smriti is involved. Who should understand this? Dhiraha. The word Dhiraha says, Dhiyam Rati Dadati Grihnati iti. Dhyam, that is dhi dharane, that which he possesses, the knowledge. Rati and dadati means giving, and grihnati means acquiring. So isn't this very contradictory to each other? You're giving and you're receiving. So how can we understand this? Giving here states, giving up the thought that Paramatma and Jivatma are two separate entities, and Grihnati, acquiring the understanding that Jivatma and Paramatma are the same. So this is the word of Dhiraha. So when that kind of Dhira who has understood that the Jivatma and Paramatma is one, and that Dhiraha who has recollected the fact that this Sakshi is present in all the three avasas, such a person will never have shokha. Okay, so when we look back at this verse, yes, so when we look back at this verse, when we do the anvaya, the shloka, when we put it in, it's jumbled, right? So when we put it in a proper format, it goes like Yena swapnantam jagaritantam cha ubhau anupashyati धीरः तं महान्तं विभुम आत्मानां मत्वा kadapi. Kadapi is what we have to understand. Never, he will never experience sorrow. Shochaha, shochati. He'll never experience sorrow any time in his life.
Thank you, Diksha. I think it was a great way of explaining through etymology of the words. And generally, if you would actually go at that depth, you would really understand the why this particular word is being used, and it's like more deep understanding you would need. So, thanks for that. And obviously, she has explained beautifully, like in the Avastha Traya Sakshi, that Sakshi which is across all the avasthas is this is so is the consciousness itself. So in mantra 3 we saw Drik Drishya Viveka. There also we saw that across everything what was common? Consciousness. In mantra 4 again Avastha Traya Sakshi, witness all the three states, whether it is waking, dreaming, deep sleep, it is the same constant thing is that. What happens is like in waking there is a vishaya bhed. We see different people, all the sense objects, all the pancha tattvas are going to make different things, so we observe a plurality there. In dreams also there is time is different, space is different. In deep sleep the time and space get resolved. It's kind of a thoughtless state. But what is constant, which is not really a thought, it is again the same consciousness. So we looked at two different techniques. One was Driktrishya and then Avastatraya. Just to say that in one we saw that Atma is eternal, in the other one we saw it is all pervading. It is across all the stages of our experiences, across all our stages of life, waking, sleep, deep sleep, etc. Now we are so our next speaker will talk about verse number 10. So let me share a few things which are talked between verse number 5 to verse number 10, where the main idea which is being told is that it is only the consciousness which is there. There's nothing like matter, as Chetna had told earlier, but that is the only thing which is illumining everything. We see things in very different forms in our actual experience, but the real substance behind is consciousness only. That's the main theme of from 5 to 10. Now how it is being explained, I'll just give a brief. So like here you see that water supports both wave and ocean. When you look at the ocean, it looks at a very macro level, but when you actually go deep down, you go, then the wave is also nothing but like that ocean only. So ocean and wave is not really different. We have seen this example again many times. The point here being driven is that at what is our level of looking at? Are we looking at ocean as like the Paramatma or the Ishvara, and then wave is like a Jivatma? And then if we look at it that way, then it is different. But at the end, both are water only. So that is how what is being told. Again, in the Tattva Bodha style that as I was mentioning, this is what is being talked about there. We talk about there is an original consciousness, which is the Bimba Chaitanya. Then there is a reflected consciousness, which is a Pratibimba Chaitanya. Like there is a source of light, is the original, and there is a reflected light, which is the Pratibimba Chaitanya. Now there are different type of materials also, or reflecting medium also. So there is a source of light, and then there is a reflected light, but there is a medium also. And the medium also there are different types. One is like Sthula Prapancha, and there is a Sukshma Prapancha, and there is a Karana Prapancha. So in that, those are the columns here. And then there is also, you can look at what level you want to look at a micro level, at a macro level. Again, these are all kind of just logical separation of things. For example, this is just a thing which I somehow try to understand, why animals are called like vertebrates and invertebrates. Like God has not created in two different. This is just for our logical understanding. I know there it is like absolutely different. There is a clear distinction there, but this is just logically we have separated that medium into different ways just for our better understanding. But here also there is one OC is there, which is the original consciousness, and we are trying to see there is RC1, RC2, RC3, RC4, RC5, RC6. And so at a micro level and a macro level, the Sthula Prapancha is called Vishwa and Virat. These are just technical terms. Sometimes when we do for like any other deeper study, these are helpful. These are like terminologies which by which we can quickly communicate a particular concept. At a mental level, it is Tejas and Hiranyagarbha and Prajna and Ishvara at a causal level. So the idea is that the Paramatma, there is no getting birth of causal level. It's always there. It's like a potentiality. It's always there. And then they take a sankalpa, and then Hiranyagarbha is born, Brahmaji, and then from there the Sthula Prapancha comes and all. So this is just different levels of that anatma stuff, but originally whatever this is all getting illuminated is by that original consciousness. That is the basic message here. So this is just another example. If you see, the straw is the same, but once the reflecting or the medium changes, there is less water, then it appears like this. There is a little bit more water, it appears differently. Then the real substance has not changed, just the medium changes. And then the same OC, when it goes through this different RM 1 2 3 4 5 6, becomes RC 1 2 3 4 5 6. So there is no different substance as different RC, it is the same OC being looked at differently. It's the limitations of the reflecting medium. So we have to just make sure what medium we are looking at. Then once we clarify our medium, like we talk about so much about mind purity, etc. That's also a medium through which he is expressing. So if we clean that, then the clarity of the OC is going to appear. So this is how it is being talked about. Mantra 5, he talks about causal, then 6 7 9 about sukshma, and then in 8 sthula. But the underlying message is sarvam brahmamayam jagat. There is nothing else other than Brahma. It appears so many different ways, but it's Brahman only. There is no substance as anatma. Substance as in, like, if you reduce everything, negate, what remains? There is nothing anatma. Anatma will go away in that process. So now let's look at verse number 10, which also is very helpful in our this understanding what really the swarup of Atma is. Dr. Komal, please.
These are all highly technical verses as we go beyond. Verse 10, mantra 10 goes like this. Ideveha tadamutra, idamutra tadanviha, mrityoh samrutyumapnoti, ya iha naneva pashyati. Yat iva iha tat amutra. Whatever indeed is here is there. Yat amutra tat anuiha. Whatever is there is likewise here. Mrityo samrutyum apnoti. He goes from death to death, transmigrate words. Who sees any difference between there and here? What is this there and here? That's a crucial question now. It's okay, why to get all this confusion and all? Everything is one. Okay, come, we will go. So that's one way of looking at it. Anyway, everything is one, Advaita. What's the our Parth was making some math sums on the board. No, highest common factor and lowest common multiple, right? HCF. So what are the HCF of two numbers? What's the smallest HCF of two numbers possible? One. See? That's the Advaita. Eventually we'll have to come there. Whatever two you take, eventually you'll have to come to that single entity, one. But it's easy if it is prime numbers. If it is something else, it will be difficult. You'll have to deduce it to see actually it is one. That's our problem. What's our basic problem for our peace, security, and happiness? Is that in our life, from the time we are born to the time we die, there are some things which are under our control and something which are not under our control. If you negate everything else, if you have to just make an equation for all our problems, it comes to that. Something which are under our control, under Jiva's control. Something which is dictated by something how the world works, for which I have no control. Call that entity, the huge entity, the big one, which is not under your control but affects you as a macrocosmos. And that entity, the figurative expression of that thing which controls you, of which you have no control, personify it as calling Ishvara. You are Jiva, and that you are playing a kind of volleyball or tennis with Ishvara. He puts something, you play back. He puts something, play back. That is Jivana. So here and there corresponds to this microcosmos and macrocosmos. Macrocosmos is Ishvara's world, higher attributes, which are much beyond what you can even imagine. Microcosmos is you as Jiva. And why three again? Stula Sukshma Karana. Like we saw why we should have five senses. Why should have three divisions like this? Why only three? Why not any other number? Three stages, avasthas. That depends on avastha trayas. Jagrat avastha is the world, what we experience, what I see and what everybody else see is Jagrat avastha. What is Swapna avastha? Is the world in which I see, but none of you can see. What is causal level? Sukshma, Sushupti. I neither you know what is there, even I don't know. That's still at Karana avastha. For these three, to go further in our discussion, because we are highly intellectual people, we want to resolve. First, we need to know what is resolution mean, and we want to resolve. We want an answer. For that intellectual exercise, we need names. These names for these three, first is to understand I have three avasthas and three levels. Similarly, the big one, the Ishvara level also, that other entity which controls me, of which I don't have any control, has three levels of being, three avastha. So that's what is the three levels. So general example what we take is about the wave and uh, ocean and water. That which is there here alone, that which is here alone is there, that which is there alone is here. So there and here, and everywhere is the highest common factor, one that we know. Ocean is at the macro level, wave is at the micro level. Each one of us are like a waves, and water is the actual entity. Both are made up of the same, called by different names. Three levels. We need a source. We need the physicality of that ocean to be seen, or the physicality of that wave to be seen. That stula side can be taken as a stula prapancha. And that thing at the sukshma level, which is not seen, we can consider it as force, which is there. That's a sukshma prapancha. Karana Prapancha is the source which is not yet manifest. It's like the FD. You have earmarked you have kept it for your daughter's marriage. But it is there. It's like in a causal level. So that is the causal level. So that's the source. So these are the three levels. The technical names at the Jiva level is Prajna, Tejasa, Vishwa. And at the Ishvara level is Antaryami, Hiranyagarbha, Virat. So rather than just mugging up these terms, if you understand the necessity why they actually came, then our further journey will be simpler. Here and there, ocean and wave, Ishvara and Jiva at three levels. Eventually, that Brahman, that water, that everywhere is the same. That's all is the term. And one who understands this will not go from death to death. ಮರಣದ ಮರಣವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಪ್ರ ಸರ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಸರ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್ ನನ್ನ ಮರಣದ ಮರಣವು ಕುವೆಂಪು ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಹಾ ಸೊ ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೆನ್ ಅವರ್ ಡೆತ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಡೈಯಿಂಗ್ at that moment. So beyond that there is no further transmigration, no punarapi marana, punarapi janana. That's where the final equation is that Jiva Ishvara Aikyam, essential oneness of individual self and universal self. That's why this mantra is a Mahavakya verse, Mahavakya mantra, which is the 10th verse here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Komal sir. Again, Dr. Komal is known for his unique style. We got to learn some maths also. Just a, just a little bit again because I am a Puritan there. It is like when you boil down the ocean, you get to like what is that least common thing. So one is like that boiling down. So one is the least common factor, which is common across everything. So for example, like for a 7 and a 14, the highest common factor might be 7, but the least common factor is still the 1. So if you boil everything down, it reduces, like 1 is always going to be there in everything. So 1 is, you make factors of everything, 1 will always come up. So that's the so just as we saw, what is there is here. The consciousness in the elephant and in the ant is the same. It appears that elephant is so huge, maybe the consciousness might be huge there, or the consciousness of a the light in the big halogen and a very small light lamp is not, it's the same, the light is the same, it's just a different medium, you see it differently, it appears differently. Similarly, the consciousness in the jnani and the consciousness in ajnani is also the same. So that's a good news. So there is no difference there. It is just we need to clarify our medium. So the medium problem, but otherwise the source is the same. So as you can see here, it looks very different. It is actually the that lowest common factor is still the same. So at the Vyavaharik plane, there is plurality. There is an ocean, there is a wave. We see that every day. How can we negate what we see in Vyavaharik? But it is at the Vyavaharik plane. For example, what all that we see, I think Dr. Komal only was, or no, Karthik sir was giving example that sun rises in the east. It is also kind of a truth only. But we know the truth, the higher truth is that no, Earth is actually going around. So even though there is an experience, but there is a higher level of truth. So the higher level of truth, the paramarthic plane is that both are water only. I think we are saying the same thing in different ways again and again, just to drive home the point that there is no two different things. There is no plurality. There is only one thing. It appears different, but it is only one. That's, I think, the gist of everything. And Dr. Sachin is going to talk about plurality. What is the issue with plurality is that if I consider myself as a wave, then there is a big wave, then there is a small wave, then there is a time of birth of a wave, then a wave dies. Oh, that wave is like a tsunami, it's such a big wave, he's a very rich person, I'm a poor person. So at a wave level, all these comparisons, jealousy, lust, anger, all these things will happen. But if we consider ourselves as water, then that wave and this wave is all the same. There's no difference. So that plurality, that dvaitam is what we need to get rid of. Is what how and that is what puts us in this endless cycle. So Dr. Sachin is going to talk more in more detail about that. When Dr. Sachin, please.
So this has to be, whatever we are understanding, it has to be understood through our mind only. It can't be understood by any other source, because we are made up of the matter. Our prakriti is of matter. Even though we want to understand about Brahman, which is not made up of matter, but it will be only understood through matter, that is mind. So this has to be attained through the mind alone, though no doubt about it. And there is no plurality at all about it. One who sees here plurality, as it were, goes from the cycle of birth and death. So also this verse is an, one is to understand and one is the warning also. What we have understood, that through our mature mind, we will understand Brahman. That is the truth. That is the understanding. And Brahman, we all know, is none other than, we have to claim our, like Swaraj is my birthright. The claim that I am Brahman is to be done. Nothing else through our mind, training the mind. The warning is, if we don't understand, what will happen? If you don't understand, we will be remaining in this plurality, Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, or even binary format, that is Dvaitam. And that's why when I am taking a class, because Sir has guided me, when I am taking a class, I see many who start the Advaita, they are having hindrance. The biggest hindrance is Dvaita. They always see, how can I not perform rituals, puja. When we say Advaita, they suddenly have the hindrance that from tomorrow I should not do worship. How do I not see God in that corner of my house? That really is a big hindrance. So even plurality, more than two, is a hindrance. And the only thing we should know is Sat Chit Ananda, only Brahman. This can be understood only through one's trained mind, through Guru Upadesha, what's going on here, through Satsang. Warning we already know. Otherwise, we have to go through this cycle many times. The very proof that we have come back to human life is we have not understood, or we were there but we could not reach to the ultimate, that is the liberation, and we came another birth through a womb. So the real thing is, you have to claim Advaita. The oneness should be claimed through your own mind. By what? By dropping every other plurality, even Advaitam, that there is God, I will worship the God, I will get the benefits. No port, no special prayers. When you do that, you will claim your higher self. And then what will happen? You're going to be the same body mind, but it will be matured body, matured mind. It might grow gray, but it will be matured, and you will always seek that the peace, happiness, and security. You will not seek outwards, you will seek within you, and then you will be liberated, you will be free. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sachin. Even without preparation, specific preparation, you are able to explain it so beautifully. Obviously, you get the point of it. So, just my additional things to that is, as he said, Manasa Eva. This is a very, very favorite verse of Swamiji, because it says Manasa Eva, mind alone is going to help. Because in many of the Upanishads, or in I think even in Ramana Maharshi's, they also want to like kill that mind. Mind is not going to help you, and mind is not going to really take you there. But what they actually mean there is that unprepared mind is not going to lead you there. But at the end of the day, we can hear all the Shravanam through our ears. We can look at all the Shastras from our eyes. But the locus of the knowledge actually has to happen in our mind only. So whatever is the instrument, first of all, the locus has to be mind only. So mind we should not treat as if, okay, we have to. There are many sadhanas. People will say that, get rid of the mind or go into nirvikalpa samadhi and all. They might be helpful in other things, but here, if you have to go through jnana yoga, then mind is very important, but we have to prepare the mind. So manasa eva there, and then I say neha nanasti kinchana. It is only the people who think that there is no plurality, that will help. But there are people who yeah, iha naneva pashyati. But those who see that there is nana, there is plurality. Nana means plurality, so many things. So those who see plurality, they will get into मृत्यो से मृत्युम गच्छति, वो एक डेथ से दूसरे, from one death to another, they will keep on going. But those who don't see any difference, they will attain it. And but the jnana yoga has to happen through mind alone. There is there is mind is also an instrument also. There is one place where Swami says that mind is not the instrument, but then later he clarifies that there are certain texts will say that, but still mind is the instrument, mind is the locus, mind is very important. We have to cultivate our mind and get through. There is no plurality message. Prepared mind. Intellectually drop the notion of Dvaitam. It is again, you cannot do anything physically that you have to go from here to there or in this time to that time. You just intellectually drop the notion. It's just a notion. As Swami Anubhavanandaji says, that you have to drop wrong notions and not create new ones. Just drop the wrong ones. And both the locus and instrument is the mind. So then there are a few other verses. I think from the presentation perspective we are done, but I'll just quickly go through. There is till verse number 15 in this Valli. So the 12th and 13th basically talk about Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam. One thing they mentioned is that Angush Matra Purusha, that where is the seat of that consciousness, like there is a heart which is of the size of fist, and then the seat of the consciousness is inside the heart, so it is like a thumb size. But yeah, so the main important thing is that it appears to be limited, but it is limitless. Is the main point that they're trying to drive. That if you see, it says Ishano Bhuta Bhavasya, and here also Ishano Bhuta Bhavasya. Sa eva Adya sa u Shvaha. Adya means today and Shvaha means tomorrow. So it is the same thing which is today also, tomorrow also. It's not that with the death it will die. And there it says that Ishano Bhuta Bhavasya. In the present also it is there, in the future it also will be there, in the past also it was there. Once you know that it is always there, then that Vijugupsate, that insecurity goes away. Because what happens is, with that limitedness, that insecurity comes. Oh, I have only so much of money, or my house is small and this and that. So that kind of creates an insecurity. But if you know who I really am, I sometimes give example of cricket. So if I identify myself as a RCB fan, then if the RCB and MI match is going on, then I will always have that, oh, RCB should win. If RCB loses, I'm lost and all. But if I like cricket, then whoever wins, I am enjoying the game. So it's like get from the level of RCB to, or MI, or to from India to the level of cricket. So then you're always happy. There is no unhappiness there. So that limitlessness once comes in, then there is no, like, that death is kind of the loss of RCB. There is no RCB, so there is no death. So that insecurity goes away. We also feel that another way we can say, see this as I was talking about the seat of consciousness. So we say that consciousness is inside us. So there is space inside the pot, and then there is a space outside the pot. But the knowledge will give us that the pot is actually inside the total space. So that makes it limitlessness. So that Angushta Matra Purusha will give you, like, it is kind of limited, but it appears to be limited. But if you really enhance the knowledge, then it is limitless. So that's what is being talked about. And then in the last two, they talk about that the duality darshan leads to mortality. How they give an example that as if the water is falling down from a rooftop, or no, from a hilltop, then it just gets all disseminated, and then it all becomes plural. But let's say if there is a pure water, and then once the water becomes very pure and you try to add it into pure water, so like once you become a jnani, what is jnani is like, there is an impure water, I'm clarifying my limited my medium, then I become a pure water. So now once I become a this small pure water thing, then this is like kind of Paramatma symbolically. So these two merger, then later on you will not find any difference, like that salt doll example sir keeps giving, right? So that is how the jnani becomes. Non-duality darshan leads to immortality. Once you become that pure water, you can easily get merged into the bigger body of the pure water, or the Paramatma, again in our sense of understanding. So that is about the fourth Valli. So we looked at the Atma Swarupam. We looked at how plurality is not going to help. That Dvaitam is, we need to drop. It is very hard, obviously, But that is what we have to do, is we have to look at Sarvam Brahmamayam Jagat, that oneness, as the Vidan also mentioned in the morning, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. So only that Satyam we have to go behind. All the Mithya we have to drop. It is hard, but that's the sadhana we are here to do. So yeah, thank you.